Here's an update on our 1987 CR80 build. We have our frame nicely refinished in an epoxy gloss black paint. Looks super good. There's our subframe up there. They've actually cured for a couple weeks, so it's ready to use. Here's the CR125. Look how pretty it looks. Wow. It does look nice.
I know. It's been 2 days and you
So, because we're kind of new builders, we decided to invest in some tools. We got the Tusk crankcase splitter separator and the crank puller installer. What I want to do with the bike to make sure it functions right is put it all together with no gaskets, make sure it shifts, everything works right. So, and then this will facilitate putting bikes back together and taking them apart so we can check them over real easy. Splitting this case was an absolute nightmare. You know, it was prying one end and then wedging the other end, and it just took forever, and it's definitely not the way to do it. We could have wrecked something really, really easily.
I'm surprised we didn't.
But anyways, the engine looks fairly decent. There's really nothing wrong with the transmission. Took it all apart and put it back together many times. Luckily, I have a manual on my phone that kind of shows how everything assembles and where the thrust washers and everything goes and how these things work. They're actually marked really, really well. Like that one right now I know is for the clutch shaft. And these ones right here are marked with an R and an L to help you know where they align on that part of the transmission. Pretty simple. We did wreck some stuff when we were taking the bike apart. I cracked the stud on the clutch, cracked it right off, and this clutch was in bad shape anyway. It just was super loose, lots of play. And I found a new clutch for 29 bucks, include shipping. It didn't have this thrust bearing, I don't think, but we had one from the old clutch. And all these bikes are basically the same thing from 1987 to 95. We did have to get a new clutch cover plate. If you look at this, when we drained the oil when we got this bike, it was silver. And it was because of this piece right here. Had cracked off. You can see where it went in here and chowdered up the engine something, or the cover quite bad. And actually, even on this, you can see a spot right there where that might have gouged out some stuff also. But we bought a new cover with a bearing. That seems pretty good. That has the pieces on it. Some other problems that we found is, I don't know if we mentioned this in any other videos, but our steering stem, we stripped that thing. Pulling it out, it was so seized. We tried heat and all kinds of stuff. And we stripped that right there, and this nut also seems like it's stripped. So we have to find a new steering stem assembly, which stinks because the ones I've seen online are really rusted and beat, and this thing looks better. It's just unfortunately stripped. And we've got to rebuild our shocks. I've got a rebuild kit for those. Some other stuff that we're going to do is what?
We haven't do everything yet, but we just might have
yeah, here's other pieces that we're finding.
So this swing arm, this is all torn out. It's supposed to look like this.
Yeah, big difference. So here we got some issues. Everywhere we look, it seems like the bike has problems. So, but it's going to be cool when it's done.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, all I know for sure is that the linkage is going to be a bugger.
I found a linkage kit today for about 80 bucks.
But was it bearings or was
Yep,
it?
everything. The
Okay.
seals, bearings, everything.
Because there's funny little clips in here. If you can see that, there's these clips in here, and there's only a couple of them that I have actually, but there's not one in this side because when I was pulling it out, I cracked it out. So
fun.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
Because they're in the seals, so you can't see them.
Anyways, you know, the good news is these things aren't as complicated as everybody thinks they are. There are a lot of interesting parts, and I've had this whole thing apart. I will say this little toggle cog thing, whatever you want to call it, I'm not sure what it's called, but you take that apart, there are 2 springs and 2 little tabs that can come flying out. So not only finding those parts can be a pain if they go shooting across your garage, it was really hard to assemble, super hard to assemble. So you take these things off, that thing can be kind of wicked to get back together. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, for now.